The sun was warm that Saturday morning when Daisy, a curly-haired toddler with the brightest laugh, was tucked into her stroller. Her parents adored her, and her furry best friend, Max the golden retriever, never let her out of his sight. He walked proudly beside her, his leash in Dad's hand, his eyes watchful, his tail swishing happily. The family was at the mall, weaving through the crowds. Daisy clapped her hands at the sight of balloons and pointed with joy at every shiny thing. Max trotted faithfully, ears perked and alert. Then, in a moment too fast to comprehend, everything changed. A sudden distraction, a stranger bumping hard against the stroller, the crowd parting, and Daisy was gone. The stroller sat empty. Her mother's scream pierced the air. Shoppers froze. Security scrambled. Max lunged forward, barking frantically, pulling against the leash with all his strength. He sniffed, he searched, he whined, but Daisy was nowhere. Hours turned into days. Days turned into weeks. The family filed reports, put up flyers, begged for answers. The police investigated, but leads ran cold. Daisy had vanished as if the earth itself swallowed her whole. And Max lay for days beside Daisy's tiny shoes left by the door. He sniffed them every night before curling up in front of her crib. He whined softly, waiting for her giggle, waiting for her little hand to tug his ears. But silence filled the house. Time moved forward, as it always does, even when hearts don't want to follow. The family moved to a new neighbourhood, trying to escape the memories. Months later, they welcomed another baby girl, Lily. She brought new light into the home, though the ache of loss never faded. Max was gentle with Lily. He guarded her crib, brought her toys, and wagged his tail at her first laugh. But sometimes, late at night, he would rest his head on Daisy's shoes, eyes distant, remembering. Years later. It was a golden afternoon. The park was alive with laughter, swings creaking, children chasing bubbles across the grass. Parents chatted on benches, soaking up the sunshine. The family, Mum, Dad, Lily and Max, walked together along the path. Lily skipped happily, holding her dad's hand. Max trotted close, his fur shining, his nose twitching as he caught scents on the breeze. Then suddenly, Max froze. His body stiffened, his tail rose, his ears shot forward. He sniffed. Once, twice, and then, without warning, he bolted. The leash slipped from Dad's hand. "Max!" he shouted, but Max was already sprinting full speed across the park. Children squealed. Parents gasped. Max tore through the grass like an arrow, his barks sharp and urgent. He barreled straight toward a little girl in blue jeans playing near the slide. The girl's mother screamed. "Get that dog away from my daughter!" She rushed forward, shielding her child. But Max wasn't attacking. He barked, whined, and tugged gently at the cuffs of the little girl's jeans. His tail wagged furiously, his eyes wide with recognition. He circled her, pawed at her shoelaces, barked again, then pressed his face against her hand with desperate affection. The girl looked startled, but not afraid. Her small fingers instinctively reached out and touched Max's head, as if they'd known each other forever. The mother shoved Max back, furious. "Get this animal away before I call the police!" By now, Max's owners had reached the scene. Dad grabbed Max's collar, trying to pull him back, but Max resisted, whining and pressing toward the little girl. And then, Mum froze. Her eyes locked on the child. The shape of her face, the familiar dimple when she blinked. A spark deep in her memory lit up. Her heart pounded, words leapt from her mouth before she even realised what she was saying. Peanut butter. It was the silly call and response game she used to play with Daisy every morning. The little girl's eyes widened. She tilted her head, paused for a beat, and softly, instinctively replied, "Jelly time." The world seemed to stop. Mum dropped to her knees, tears flooding her face. Dad staggered back, his breath caught in his throat. Max barked wildly, tail thumping the ground. The little girl blinked, confused, and whispered, "Mama?" Chaos erupted. The mother of the girl pulled her close, shouting that this was absurd, that the dog was dangerous, that these people were insane. She called the police. Within minutes, sirens wailed. Officers swarmed the park, separating the families. Max barked furiously, pulling against the leash, trying to stay near the girl. Mum tried to explain, her voice trembling. "That's our daughter. She was kidnapped when she was 2. Look at her, listen to her. She answered our call and response." The officers exchanged wary looks. They began asking questions, taking notes. The other mother clutched the child tightly, insisting the girl was hers, adopted legally through an agency years ago. But the resemblance was undeniable. The police opened a case. DNA tests were ordered. Max was kept away, whining miserably, pressing his nose against the door where the girl had been taken for questioning. Days crawled by. The family barely slept. Then, confirmation. The DNA was a perfect match. The little girl was Daisy. What followed was a storm. Investigators traced documents, adoption records, and shady transactions. The agency that had placed the girl was no ordinary service. It was a cover for a criminal ring, stealing children and selling them on the black market, sometimes for adoption, sometimes for horrific purposes. Arrests were made. Employees were caught. Connections were uncovered that led to a chilling discovery. Organ trafficking, dark web sales, and international crimes. But at the centre of it all was Daisy, alive, safe, and finally home. The day Daisy returned to her real home was unforgettable. Her room had been left untouched, her shoes by the door, her crib still tucked away in the attic. Mum and Dad held her tightly, weeping into her hair. Lily, her younger sister, wrapped her arms around her, giggling and crying at the same time. And Max pressed against Daisy's legs, tail wagging so hard it thumped the floor. He whined and barked, licking her hands, her cheeks, her face. Daisy buried her fingers in his fur and whispered, "I missed you too, Max." Max never left her side again. Sometimes, in the evenings, the family would walk together through the same park. The sun would set, children would laugh, and Max would trot proudly with both of his sisters beside him. He had always known. He had never forgotten. Because dogs never forget the ones they love. And this time, he had brought his sister home.